or tag a friend who loves tattoos and would like to join us. You guys can check out some of our other Reinventing weekly drawing groups and shows on our network as well. Every Sunday, we have Jason Leeser with his skill building Sunday drawing group. Mondays, we have our drawing for tattooers led by James Wisdom, followed by the Tattoo Weekly at 11. Monday nights are the evolution classes led by Guy Aitchison. Tuesdays, you can find us here at 10 with Ricardo Sturdivant. Wednesdays at noon is a TattooNow show, and our business course bi-weekly at 1. Thursday nights is the Tattoo Collecting 101, and then we start it all over with other shows all the time. All of these events can be found on our homepage as well as our YouTube and Roku channel. Before we get started today, let's just say thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us push out this content to you guys all the time. We've got World Tattoo Events giving us the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. And you can find hundreds of event listings on their website at worldtattooevents.com. Also, shout out to Raw Pigments with acrylic-free pigments being used by artists around the world. Thank you to DLize Pro for helping artists and clients protect their art, and our affiliates, of course, Fireside Tattoo, The Apprenticeship Diaries, and eco-friendly tattoo-supplies.com. So today's going to be a pretty cool show. We've kind of been chatting for the last 20 minutes or so. Gabe is on location, like I said before, at a very, very cool spot in Queens. So we're going to go ahead and bring you guys in.
Hey, how goes it? I just want to set that blue light's on. Yeah, fantastic. I just want to make sure that all the tech is working. So yeah, how goes it? I'm pretty excited to be down here. I'm sorry that we're missing Jake, but he had to miss today's episode. So yeah, I'm Gabe, and I'm here with Tim. I'm not sure which camera's going out, but Tim's been, I don't know, I guess we first met, I don't know, a decade ago, over a decade ago. Yeah. It's been a while at some of the conventions, and then remember we had what do they call them over in Iowa in a session? It was the Emerald Isle Tattoo Session. And I think that was the year where we did the team building exercises and all the so I don't know, every once in a while I talk about how Jeff and Nick had to do like a scavenger hunt with us, and it was a team building exercise, and it was like the last thing that any of us wanted to do. And actually the guy that was leading it, he was like, I don't want to do tattoo people, probably a little too cool for school to do this fucking scavenger hunt thing, right? But you know, everyone got together at the end and we're like, it was a lot of fun. Do you know how many people we got to do the wave? That was anyways, it's awesome to be here, and I guess we have the intro to roll. And then we could get into we have some other guests from artists from the shop. Amy, did I pronounce it right?
Jaime.
Jaime. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We were just talking about you. So.
Yeah, Jaime's awesome. I just kind of had a few seconds with him, and it was also pretty great. But yeah, so if you guys are in Queens, can you, so 10,000 Foxes, I'm familiar with, different locations and stuff like that. So what is it like out in Queens? Have you guys been there for quite some time?
But wait. Lauren, before we get into it, don't we have to roll the intro?
We do. All right, I'll get on that.
We're now so all the tech, we automatically go out as a podcast. So like 24 hours after the live streams, we're on the podcast. So we're sticking to our format, I guess. And now the obligatory, it's actually Mondays at 11 a.m. and those premiere files just fucking probably got puked up the next day after I fucking made it. That was a drinking night that I made it. I was like, I can't believe we don't have a trailer. Made a trailer. Like 3 days later, we changed the dates. Well, it's not trivial to make them. It's not like the end of the world, but it's not like, it post like an hour and a half, 2 hours to kind of put it together, find the pictures and whatnot. So, but it's lost. Now we have to make a new one. In any event, so Lauren, you were having some questions for Tim. I think maybe do we want to switch spots so that you're in the featured chair here? Okay. And
Yeah, I was just curious on being familiar with Queens and New York in general and the different boroughs. I was curious how long you've been there in Queens.
We're coming up on 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in Astoria, which is, the coolest neighborhood in Queens for sure. But yeah, the original 10,000 Foxes is in Bushwick in Brooklyn. Started by Manu. And then the second one opened in LA. And then we decided to do this one. And then there's another one in LA. So keeps on growing.
And Lauren, do you have some of Tim's work for us to fire up?
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be awesome. So for anybody who guys are watching, just drop a comment in the chat. We'll watch that too if you have any questions.
Awesome. One of the fun things about running the professional development events is that sometimes 10 years later, you get to catch up with artists, and it's like, holy shit, you got fucking great. And I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, I guess. Whatever. I just remember at some point being like, oh man, that guy's fucking great. And then probably mentioned 2 more times, before I was like, you're that guy that's doing the work that's there.
These are Jaime's.
Oh.
You'll get to show those.
It's a teaser.
Yeah. Jaime teaser.
And that's Jose. We'll be talking about him later.
Yep, I'll pull it up in just a second.
Awesome. But so what was the first professional development event? Was it one of the tattoo gatherings? Or?
The Paradise Gatherings up at Jiminy Peak. I went to almost all of those.
Who is it? How did you become aware of this? Was it a particular artist or?
That's a good question. The first time I ever became aware of you with Off the Map was I got tattooed.
Cool.
By Joshua Carlton
at
your shop.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. He was, I think, he may have been like our 3rd or 4th guest.
Yeah, you weren't open very long.
We were
went up there. I got tattooed by him.
It was within our first 4 months.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Josh was, what was the tattoo?
Hanya on my leg.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have to show it later. Okay, but so this is Tim's work here. And one of the things that we've talked about is professional development, right? For both your artists here at the shop, and I guess we have to get into the story about the shop, but also for other tattooers, because you have a lot of people asking about cover-ups and such. We'll have to chat about that a little bit. But
yeah, that has become what people come to me for the most these days are cover-ups and large, difficult cover-ups that other artists don't want to touch. So,
how long did it take for you to be comfortable with that, or was it something that you were kind of enjoying the challenge?
Enjoying the challenge, but I would say maybe 5-6 years ago is when I really feel like I started understanding the nuance about design, what works, what doesn't work. Because being able to see some earlier pieces, healed, aged, whatever, the longevity of every tattoo, but especially a cover up, and really understanding all of that, really took it to the next level. And I started taking on bigger, more complicated ones, and just developed a wealth of knowledge from it. And these days I'm getting referrals from tattooers that I don't even know. Like the clients will be like, oh, so and so from this shop said go see you.
Fantastic. Now, for the collectors that are out there listening, what are some of the common I don't want to say misperceptions, but some of the common solutions that somebody might think about for cover-ups that don't work? So I'm just thinking of like the tribal over, the craziness, right? That a client tends to think, oh, I'll just get tribal over, it's black, but like solid fields of black are probably not all that good, are they? Or could be?
You know, it has to be done well, but the biggest thing for clients is they think they have to go dark or go with black over black, and it's not necessarily the case. And then also understanding balance. So if there's an area that's going to be dark, talking to them about how other areas on clean skin need to be dark to balance it out, and that they can get a little nervous because they hear dark or they hear black.
It's already too dark,
Right.
You
But
know?
what that does is make the color in the other areas pop when it's designed correctly.
Sure.
Um,
And then are you finding that you could pretty much cover everything, or are there times where you need to laser? I've got a lot of lasering done, so I'm not.
so there, I feel like, yes, I could not cover anything, right? And it also depends on what they want to do. Sometimes somebody will, you know, have, let's just say, a tribal and then show black and gray realism and be like, oh, I want to cover it with this lion, you know, and that's just not going to work. But let's say we agree on style and design. There absolutely are times where lasering to lighten will benefit the longevity of the tattoo. So whereas I know when I'm done with it, if they don't laser it, that it will cover and cover well. But when I see it in 3 or 4 years, will that now be effective? And that's what one, and doing it as long as I have, been able to see that aged work, which is very important to me. And that's where my recommendation, whether like it's definitely worth it to lighten it a little bit, or, you know, I'm confident, like, no, we can do it as long as the design is correct.
A lot of it's about options, right? So like people may or may not understand their options, right? But the biggest thing for me is like, if you've made a mistake, take a fucking deep breath. Make sure that the next thing that you do is awesome, perfect, right? You're already, and it's sad sometimes. And I've probably done it myself. I have done it myself, where I've had multiple cover-ups as I was figuring out what was a good tattoo. So then I was like lasering double, triple cover-ups.
Right.
And I guess, so I guess mostly it's awesome that, you're able to like help people understand, what's possible, what's not possible. But again, the really important thing for me is that the client, figures out what it is that they would possibly want,
right?
And then work backwards from there.
What I've really found and developed over the last few years is the educating the client part. So when I have a consultation, rather than just being like, oh yeah, I can do that, but it's got to be this or that. I take the time to sit down, show examples of work, why this worked, why this didn't work, a few different approaches. If we're gonna focus on foreground imagery for the cover up, background, like all of those things are essential. But really educating them about the process, I feel like has been huge. So I'll spend a half hour in consultation just going through examples, explaining, okay, if you don't want color, we can use opaque grays. If we do that, this is the way we go about it. I approach cover-ups with a layering process rather than just like slamming it in there. So I also let them know what to expect from session to session. After the first session, you're gonna see this peeking through.
Sure.
But that education process for the client has been huge. So that they really know what to expect.
And it makes sense, I mean, a lot of the, awesome tattoo portfolios that are out there, the skin's naturally just going to heal off, right? So you put it in there at 100% as best you possibly can, and then nature has its way with it, and then you do another layer, beauty pass. It's not like giving touch-ups. It's like, hey, you just need to hit it twice, or don't have to. Obviously, there's plenty of tattoos that are fine with one session, but especially to your point with cover-ups. Cool. Lauren, do you have any questions? Or I know that you're an ink person, so maybe I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I don't know.
That's funny, an ink person. Yeah, that's always a rabbit hole to get down. Here I am. So I was just pulling up some work and getting some stuff going on in the background, but it's pretty cool to hear you guys talk on location. I was curious, Tim, have you always, where were you before you were here in Queens? I'm just curious kind of about your background and stuff. And then I also would love to dive into some funny, cool pigment questions if you're interested.
Sure. So I'm from New York. I've always been in New York. Lived half my life in Brooklyn. The majority of my tattooing career has been in either Brooklyn or Queens. Well, Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. So I've traveled all over the world and done guest spots everywhere.
What are some of your favorite spots?
Some of my favorites?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know that place.
Yeah, Europe, I've spent a good amount of time in Thailand and tattooing in Bangkok, Hong Kong, New Zealand was awesome.
Now what years were these? When was this?
2016 through 2018, I was just on the road constantly. Come back to New York for 2 months, travel for 2 months, and it was just nonstop and until I opened the shop, and now it's been Queens day and night.
Queens day and night, huh? So is it, just curious, in your situation there, I see that there's like your chair and it's kind of a smaller environment with being Queens because there's so much going on. So, I mean, do you guys have a couple other artists here? And then also, do you guys ever kind of go out to LA or anything like that and come back amongst the...
Yeah. So we have 5 or 6 resident artists here, plus my apprentice. And we always have guest artists as well. So it can be tricky. We have 4 stations at the shop. 2 of our resident artists also work at other shops, so they're only here maybe a day or 2 a week. But when we have guest artists, especially if we have multiple guest artists at the same time, space can get a little tricky. But we're in the process of opening a private studio as well, which will help with that. As far as LA goes, I was out there a few months ago, and it's great for a lot of the guest artists that they can come, they can work in Brooklyn, they can work in Queens, and then they can head to LA, and all of our resident artists as well, of course. So it's nice to have that flexibility and that opportunity for everybody.
Sure.
And you have all the guests come through here, or you do have some guests come through?
We have a lot of guests from now until the end of the year. We have, I think, 9 guest artists coming through. We have one arriving today. 2 weeks from now, we have a bunch of them too. We have some new ones that have never been with us before. We have a couple that are regular guests. It's really been great.
It's kind of fun when guests come through. You get to experience. You get to live vicariously through their travel.
For sure. Yeah, and they're all either from Europe or South America typically.
They're great. Everybody's portfolios are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely world class. And you have a lot of people that are trying to get in, and you have to be pretty selective. Or...
We do. We have, I don't want to say turned down, but we've had to push out a few until next year just because of space.
I was on one of the forums. Brad Wootman was asked. People were talking about guest spots and stuff. Maybe it was on Russell's forum, and I was thinking about my rejection letter, right? And I was like, man, my rejection letter was pretty awesome. It's got like a full outline of like how to be a badass, right?
Yeah.
And so when I looked it up, and it's amazing. So I have all this shit filed, right? I don't even know how I organized it all, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go right to the living business thing. There's my guest artist rejection letter, and I was reading through it. I'm like, man, that's great. It's like a little syllabus on how to, and again, it was worded very much like, the people that are successful here are often engaged in these kinds of activities and are engaged in this kind of media and do art nights once a week, that kind of stuff. And it's pretty good. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, we haven't had to. It's rare that because of the quality of somebody requesting a guest spot. Everybody is super talented that wants to come through.
Yeah, cool.
So we try to make it work. It's great for all of the resident artists to have new blood coming through.
To be learning from them.
You know,
For sure.
totally. Absolutely. And everybody has been amazing. Like we have a great crew here at the shop, an awesome vibe, and it really feels like when you put that out and you're genuine and you care, like you get it back. All of the guests that come through here are just like super solid people, you know, as well as incredibly talented.
Speaking of residents, is it almost time for me to swap places, or what? Lauren, should we? I don't know what time it is. My clock.
Oh, it's like 10. Yeah, let's in a couple more minutes. Sure. Tim, I was curious, have you always been into color? Because I've, you know, obviously I kind of zoomed back several scrolls to see kind of where you started, and it looks like you've always definitely been into color.
Yeah, you know,
you like your black and gray as well.
So early for the first 6-7 years, probably I was tattooing. I really loved black and gray. Most of my own tattoos were black and gray. And, you know, when I was a kid drawing, it was always in pencil. So when I started getting tattooed, black and gray just like made sense. And I really enjoyed it. And I think, you know, I came up in a shop where I just had to do everything. It didn't matter what style or color, black, whatever. What really pushed me into primarily doing color was the cover-ups, you know, black and gray, unless it's opaque black and grays, don't really cut it for most cover-ups, you know. So that started pushing me more into color. But for a long time, I was all about black and gray, and I still love doing it, you know. But now most people just come to me for, even if it's not a cover up, they see so much of my color work, and that's what they want.
Yeah, it's hard to find some of your black and gray, but when I do, it's really nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, shall we swap? I'm gonna swap out here. I don't know if you're screen sharing or not, but it'll take us 30 seconds here to swap around.
Oh, okay,
What'll
cool.
happen?
Yeah, I'll do that.
You'll hop in my chair. You can hop into the featured chair, and then I'm giving you my piece. And then the three of y'all can chat a little bit, and then I'll make sure stuff's working.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Is there another wavy blade?
There is.
Yeah, you sit down, and then I'll do this.
Yeah, you know what might be interesting too, Lauren, is you see as you go to my Instagram, there's a ton of, you know, most of the stuff I do, especially the cover-ups, are freehand. And for any other artists watching or whatever, if they do a lot of freehand work, I intentionally put it up there because the drawing process, whether it's time-lapse videos or whatever, because I know, especially my freehand stuff can look crazy, and I can't expect clients to see what I see in my mind's eye. So a few years ago, I really started putting up a lot of drawings, and what that's done is really helped. Now when clients come in and they have seen so much of it, so when I draw something crazy and it looks super sloppy and what is that on there, they're totally confident because they've seen a ton of it already. And I think that goes to part of like the education and that people are informed and all that. So if there are artists out there watching, if they do freehand stuff, it helps the client to see, you know. And now, ironically enough, if I choose to stencil something, I'll get disappointed clients like, oh, you're not gonna, the Sharpie is all over me, you know. It's been very helpful.
Yep, that's awesome. I'm sure that dynamic has changed over the last several years, where it's they're seeing it much more in open face concept.
Yeah.
Also, hi, Nate.
Now, yeah, hi, Nate.
What's up, guys? What's up, Lauren?
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Jaime, you're here from Medellin, I take it?
I'm from Medellin. Yeah, I'm from Medellin, Colombia. I've been living here in New York for 5 years already.
Hmm.
3 years working in this location, 10,000 Queens, and 1 more year, I think, working with him. So 4 years, right?
Yeah,
Working
I
together.
mean, it was originally at the Brooklyn shop, so we worked there together for a year before we opened up this spot. And
Okay.
he's been over here with us since the beginning.
That's quite a ride. I'm gonna go ahead and show off some of your work. I'm not sure if you can see. Here we are. And I showed a little bit before, but we'll get back into it. Here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
It's a nice tattoo.
Dreaming of the chicken.
Yeah, that's like his favorite toy. So yeah, the owner requests like that the toy in the
It's
tattoo,
great
the
though.
design.
That like totally makes that too.
Mhm.
I love doing mostly I don't know organic or botanical elements. A lot of flowers, a lot of leaves. I just try to be like simple, clean and solid, and that's my base mostly.
Very clean and solid.
Yeah, you were mentioning stuff before, Lauren, talking about ink or whatever, pigments. Jaime and I will always talk a lot about colors and how they work, and
That is a rabbit hole for sure. I'm just curious, because a lot of the light fastness of different colors when you're going for those bold oranges and those deep reds, it changes so much over time. It's great to have experience with the longevity of those particular pigments, because that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. Oranges are always been a tricky one when it comes to longevity.
Oh, yeah.
They just magically disappear. I think maybe it's like Nick Baxter or somebody who I originally kind of brought it to my attention years ago in his own work and in tattoos that he had on him. That everything was great, and then all of a sudden, at like 5 years, it was just gone with orange. So that's a tricky one. I use powder pigment, and when talking longevity, I think they're superior. But powder pigments are not as common, and they can be a bit more difficult to work with. So the brand I use primarily is Chroma, and their powdered pigments are amazing because the way that they mix them, they have the same kind of viscosity as most pre-dispersed pigments. And that's been the turnoff for a lot of artists who use powder is it can be like toothpaste coming out of the bottle, and then you got to know how to mix it and thin it out. And people either don't have the knowledge or don't have the time. But I do feel like it's superior, and typically the ingredients or lack thereof.
Key.
Yes, yeah, is definitely also superior.
Yeah, the powders, I would definitely, Chroma is a great brand, and they with that they choose the oranges that they choose, with light fastness, there's different ratings, you could get a light fast rating from 1 to 8. And some of those oranges, if you look up the precise pigments, will have like a rating of maybe 4. I can't speak for Damien at Chroma, but I know like at Raw, our light fast ratings would be like an 8. So, once you get into those deep dives, you can really focus on your tattoos, but that's a deep dive. Like you said, some people don't necessarily have the understanding or, from the manufacturer's standpoint, but Chroma is definitely a great brand.
Yeah, you know what's to that point, I just started venturing into learning more about laser removal because mainly because of the cover-ups that I do and all that, and if I could provide something that would be more accessible for my clients, that would be great. So it was actually yesterday I did like my first like a webinar basically, and learning about from the laser perspective where the pigments sit in the skin and how reds are always very much at the top, yellows are all the way at the bottom. And it's different wavelengths for the laser technicians to know, what you got to do, where you got to go to get these particular colors. But even thinking about it from that perspective was amazing for me. Like when you think about not just how you put it in, but when you're layering on top of something, and that the primarily red is like in the epidermis and like high levels of the dermis. And it totally makes sense with certain like aging things and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Speaking of that type of thing, if you're interested, Tim, there is an upcoming interview and several paths that we've done with John Swerk. And so John is a professor at Binghamton University in Massachusetts. And he was just decided one day he was interested to know what happens when laser light hits your tattoo or sunlight hits your tattoo and how those pigments break down. So he had a 3-year study and some of his findings have recently come out. You'll really, really enjoy that. It's a full out lab study for several years where they studied exactly that, how sunlight or laser light affects the pigments in your skin.
Wow. That's coming out, you said?
Yeah, we'll be interviewing him soon. We'll have him on the Tattoo Weekly and do like a longer sit down with him. So literally any questions that you guys or Jaime or any of you have, send them over.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the education for tattoo artists about that is really important. One of the things I feel like is lacking a little bit in the industry today is the focus on longevity. So I think the more that people really understand things like that, the better for everybody.
What about you, Jaime? What type of so before we talked about with Tim starting with black and gray, was that your foundation or did you jump right into the fully saturated color work?
Well, at first I start like trying all kind of style, just seeing what happens, trying different techniques. And I don't know, the people who was around me at that time, all of them, I used to do, they actually do traditional, new traditional, so some Japanese as well. So I don't know, I really like fell in love when doing like clean lines or solid colors. And I definitely need to see some lines in all my tattoos. So I think it's so important, and that's why I'm doing what I do.
Was there when you first started in Colombia, were people into like any certain style, or was it just?
I think I don't know. They like all around the world. I think people really like black and gray. I find black and gray a little like boring. Not doing lines. I don't know. The process is I don't know. But yeah, definitely there people really like black and gray as well. Yeah. So yeah, my closest friends, all of them, Jose Baena, Joan Mesa, they all do. We start doing just like new traditional right away.
Some more of that Sharpie action.
We go through a lot of Sharpies in this shop.
Yeah,
I
definitely
can see that.
team. Yeah. Some yellows. We try and in that one, especially we win especially him trying different brands, different inks, and like you say, we've been using a lot of chroma, a lot of powder. I use fusion as well. I really like fusion, and I'm been using fusion for since I don't know, 10 years ago.
I like
And
Corey's color selection when you're talking about what the type of work that you both do. They have a really nice range.
yeah, I mostly try to use the same color, the same tones mostly.
Yeah, Jaime is
But
very, very particular, which is great. When he is laying out a tattoo, go about it in a very traditional way, outline black, and then when laying out the color, that's when him and I will talk a lot. Ask me, like, hey, what do you think about this? But he'll know very specifically, like, no, I want this green to be cool, and there's a lot of mixing himself to get it, just where it is, or where he wants it. But yeah, very, very particular.
Yeah, that's
I
the
always
nice
ask
thing
him,
about.
teams all the time. Hey, teams, I need an advice with this color. How about this? How this one heal? And that's the a really nice process. Just we was talking like I don't know 2-3 months ago about I didn't notice how some specific green heals really dry from some brand popular one. So I stopped using it and I've been trying with different greens, for example.
One of the things I try at the shop with my apprentices for sure, but just in general, with all clients when we do consultations, longevity is really, really important to me. And so we have great conversation about it, and then looking at healed work and aged work of our clients and things like that. I think me owning the shop and also having apprentices. Of course, I want everything that comes out of the shop to be top notch. So when it comes to longevity, we don't want to do things, even some fine line minimalist stuff that looks great when you first take a picture and post it on your Instagram. But then in 6 months, the clients aren't happy with it.
Not even a year, yeah.
So we're completely honest with everybody about that, but because I push that so much, I feel like it's also opened up great conversations amongst the artists, and we're constantly like asking each other what we think, or looking at everyone else's work and talking about it, and that camaraderie is really important because I've been in shops where you don't have that. Everybody just kind of does their own thing, or egos or whatever. So yeah, I feel really fortunate to have that kind of relationship and hopefully continue to foster that for other artists within the shop. And I think what it does is creates a lot of pride for your work and care, and pushes you to try to understand more about tattooing as its own medium, not just what you can do on Procreate or what you can do with Copic markers or oil paint. Tattooing is its own thing, and we need to understand that.
I think that a cool quote that I remember from, well, we're on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. So Guy Aitchison, when he used, well, our brand or like a chroma non-acrylic brand, he said that it'd be like a paint comparing acrylics to oil painting or oil painting to acrylics, the difference in some of those pigments. So, but yeah, in terms of longevity, you've definitely, hit the nail on the head when the less is more. And in being in Queens, you have such a wide range of skin tones over there and skin types. That's got to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, different skin types because you have all ethnicities and everything here, but you know, variety is the spice of life, right? So it's also what keeps things interesting, you know. But there is that understanding. Okay, somebody comes in and shows you a picture or wants something, and they're showing it on very pale skin, and you know how a lighter tone with a medium skin tone, what those two, what that winds up creating, and especially a year, 2 years from now, how that can be a brown or some weird color that will totally throw off the tattoo, even if initially it looks good. That was really important to understand, and a lot of that only comes with experience. So thankfully, especially because all of my tattooing has been in New York, I have a lot of experience with all of that. So I can give advice for some artists, especially if we have guest artists, some European guest artists that are not used to certain skin types or whatever. Like I'm able to help, offer that advice from the experience I have.
Yeah, I know that you both have, experienced lots of different places, Colombia, you said New Zealand and Thailand and all these places, but I feel like New York has got that melting pot of unpredictable. You'd never really know what's going to come before.
It's true.
Yeah.
And yeah, with all the traveling, the amount of places I've been, there's no place that has the diversity that New York does. So just from a tattooing standpoint, there's a lot of variables that you can have with your clients, which is excellent, right? But you need to be experienced and knowledgeable about it, and then also know how to explain that information to a client, because you also you don't want to offend anybody if it's like that tattoo is not going to work for you. You have to be able to explain like why and what the options are, and what will work better for them, and the long run. All of that is really important.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. And I know in the Bronx that my experience has been a lot of healthy conversation to lead them in the right direction rather than saying no to anything,
Yeah.
Jaime, what's your experience? How do you like New York in comparison to Medellin?
Well, I'm all the time saying team, hey team, I'm in love with New York. I don't know, yeah, like Tim says, a lot of diversity. So it makes us like involved in a really, I don't know, there is always something happening here. So a lot of music, a lot of art everywhere. So, and clients' ideas, they're so different than Medellin. Clients, like you say, clients' skin complexions are so different. So I really like here. Really like New York. How this city is making me grow all the time.
There's so much inspiration everywhere, even in Queens or like Chinatown close. There's different shapes, lights, and people and events that are very, very inspiring, and it's happening all the time.
Yeah, there is inspiration everywhere here. So you have everything here in New York. So you have the sea, you have rivers, you have Chinatown, like you say, you have Times Square. I love Times Square.
Me too.
You couldn't.
People here don't like Times Square. I don't know why.
you want to torture me, drop me off in Times Square.
And let Gabe host a scavenger hunt. How about that?
That's a good idea.
So when
told me.
when your guests come in from Europe or around the world, do you have kind of like the routine tour that you take them all on and such?
So it depends. You know, I love doing it. I love taking people around the city and showing them places. You know, giving them the not tourist, you know, view of that. But also, the last time I was in Times Square was with a guest artist, and I totally get why if somebody hasn't been to New York, they want to go there. So like, it was fun for me to see him like so excited at night, Times Square all lit up.
Everybody's like, yeah.
Like I totally understand like the value of that for them. But then some people are very independent, and when they're not here tattooing, they're bouncing around and seeing everything, and they'll amaze me. We just had a guest from Italy not too long ago, and he was with his girlfriend. They were here for 3 weeks. Every moment that they weren't tattooing, they were doing something. Coney Island, going all over Manhattan, up into the Bronx, through Brooklyn, like, and I thought that was awesome. And we've had other people that just don't really leave their Airbnb all that much. We'll hit the spots that you got to hit to show that you were in New York. But, you know, so it all depends. But they'll, at very least, like, take them out to a couple dinners or something like that at cool restaurants. And as long as they feel comfortable, you know, but it is fun.
Yeah, New York is definitely a great place to explore. You could eat somewhere different every day, every guest artist you ever have for the rest of your life, and then you still have a new place to go to every night.
Yeah, and you know, because I, you know, tattoo so much and running the shop and all of that, New York is always changing. There's always new neighborhoods that become hot, new restaurants. Have you gone to this place, that place? So no joke, the amount of people that have only, like, if they move here, they've been here for a year or two, or even a guest, that will be like, oh, this place was great, that one, and I'll have no idea what they're even talking about. I don't know, I haven't been there, but I didn't know that was happening, you know? So I can learn things about New York from them as well.
Oh, I bet. So when the guest artists, how is your guest artist process? I'm just curious. How do you guys kind of filter through what's coming in? And I mean, having 9 artists come in before the end of the year, you've got to be really, really easy to get along with and all that stuff, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been amazing to see it just organically happening. All the guests that we have, like I said earlier, have been awesome. And when they go back home, they seem to be like, hey, if you're going to go to New York, make sure you know, go to 10,000 Foxes in Queens. So just that word of mouth, we're getting inquiries constantly. And it's pretty easy to, I have found so far, to get a feel for somebody and their approach and their attitude and all of that. Even without meeting them, you know, you can ask Jaime, but I feel pretty blessed that right, everybody that comes here is like super
That's
cool.
so nice, yeah.
Right?
So nice too.
Like no egos, no nothing. So it really has made me feel like, and I mean, Jaime is a huge part of the shop, and you know, we're just like family. So you don't want to disrupt that, especially in a smaller shop with somebody that has a bad attitude, and there really hasn't been any of that. So I think it shows, you know, when you got good people, and it just attracts more good people. And Jaime is awesome. Like, he hangs out and becomes friends with all of the guests, and they'll do their own thing. And it's been really, really cool. And knock wood, we haven't had any issues. The only thing with all guest artists, especially I've noticed Europe in general, we need to be very clear from the beginning about health and safety standards. There are people that it's surprising what they either do or don't do. So that's one thing that we have a protocol with all new guests. They come in the day before they start tattooing, and I break down the whole setup process like you know nothing about tattoos.
Okay.
Teaching everything. Don't touch this with dirty gloves. Make sure you wrap this, clean that, the whole nine. I originally was like, I mean, this standard stuff, everybody knows it, and I was wrong. Everybody, or if they know it, it doesn't. They practice it. Yeah. So what I noticed is by doing that, and I'll make light of it, so because a lot of them will roll their eyes and be like, yeah, I know this. I'm like, okay, well, a lot of people don't do it though. So I make light of it. I'll make some jokes about it, but let them know how seriously we take it. And then from jump, it's like everybody respects the shop, which is really important. Not just health and safety, but when they come in, they're like, okay, like these people aren't messing around. Like you gotta be on your A.
And they always want to come back. We're waiting for like a 5, right? 5 guests.
Yeah.
Guests are coming.
Yeah.
Utah, Brazil,
Spain.
Spain in like a couple days, right?
Couple days. Tomorrow he comes. Yeah.
That means a lot of food for us.
Yeah, that sounds great. It seems like when you're bringing in good people, you're telling them your first impression, which I like and respect, is we focus on cleanliness and we focus on camaraderie. This is a family. That's cool that you lay that out right away.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a learning process. Me going from strictly like artists just gallivanting around the world to shop owner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to learn a lot as well, and don't take things for granted. Don't assume that people know certain things or think certain things, and just let people know what your expectations are. And it's nice and clear, and it's like we're all on the same page. Let's have some fun and do some cool art.
Yeah. So we have a couple more minutes. I'm curious, what's next for you guys, Jaime or him? What's next on your agendas besides having tons of guest artists and closing out the year?
So for me and the shop, we're in the process of doing a private studio as well.
Okay.
One is to have a little bit more space when we need it. I'm not doing a second like a storefront. I'm choosing a private studio just because of the maintenance of a storefront, and you have to have somebody there at all times, and it's just a lot. So private studio for some of the bigger, more exclusive projects we do. If it's not being used, no big deal. And then we're also venturing into the laser aspect of things as well. So that'll be a bit of a longer process. I need to educate myself a lot. Thankfully, I'm hooked up with some really great people that know what they're doing. And I love learning constantly about more about tattoos, and but just in general, owning the shop, learning about business, getting into laser, understanding that process, and even what I said earlier about how they were breaking down pigments in the skin was things that I didn't know. And I can take that knowledge and help me with my tattoos. So just constantly trying to learn more, grow, expand our family and bring everybody along with us. I'm trying to give Jaime opportunities as well. And the biggest part, I've said this to all the artists, and I feel like I do it, is I really want to foster everybody's growth. I want the artists to be able to come to the shop and feel like they have a place where they're supported, where they're respected, and that they want to continue to grow their craft and their life experience and just as people, you know. So that's where my focus is.
What
Yeah,
about you, Jaime?
definitely.
What's next for you? Aside from
Yeah,
what Tim
I
was.
want to get more into, I don't know, I would like to work on more in like animals and pets. I love doing pets, portraits. So definitely something like that. I'm yeah learning all the time. I want to yeah keep learning. It's crazy how you can be tattooing, I don't know, 15, 20 years and you all the time learning something about the skin, about inks,
Mhm.
about I don't know, new machines, designing all the time is a yeah, challenge. So yeah, I think that's my goal. Keep learning all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, it seems like you both are super receptive to each other, and like I think that environment really creates a good place for learning, because some of the shops you go into without that camaraderie, you could have
Yeah,
a tattooer for 10 to 15 years, never learn anything. But like you guys are in an environment where you can feed off each other, feed off your guests, and really everybody eats at the table.
Yeah.
this is our yeah our second home. We all the time here working and definitely we all the time are like asking each other, hey, how about this? What do you think about this design? That's great. That's a great environment.
Yeah, I can see you guys both being pretty fun with your clients, because your designs are very expressive, like the little duck toy, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're lucky. We have a really nice clients.
Yeah,
They
definitely. It's worth saying too is our clients
yeah.
are really great, you know, and
The story is nice. Neighborhood.
we all will become friends with each other's clients, and yeah, as the shop owner, it's really important that not just the artists feel at home, but the clients as well. And we take the customer service aspect of things pretty seriously as well, because it's really important, and that has shown that it's worked, because even when they email and questions, and when they're first time, by the first time they actually physically enter the shop, they'll say, like, the shop manager, Nicole, like, oh my God, you're Nicole. I feel like I know you already, you know? And they're just comfortable, because we need to remember we do this every day, but it can still be intimidating for people like coming into a shop, you know?
Mhm.
And the process of getting a tattoo and all of that. So, I really believe that aspect is very important. And our clients seem to really appreciate it, and it attracts good people. Well, I think what you're saying with the kind of work that Jaime and I do, um, they're both, it's a little bit more creative, right? Whereas black and gray realism is a little bit more like find a reference, and uh, the the creative process isn't there as much in certain aspects. But because of all if somebody sees my crazy sloppy freehand and they're like, yeah, I want that guy to tattoo me, they're probably pretty cool and open-minded,
I'd say
And
so.
then with Jaime's clients as well, it's
They're
stuff.
really open all the time. They give us a lot of freedom all the time.
And Jaime is also excellent, like consulting and speaking with people. What I was saying earlier, when I take the time to consult with clients and educate them, he's excellent at that as well. And so by the time he's tattooing his clients, like, they feel so comfortable with him and trust him, that when he has an idea, like, hey, what do you think about doing this here? They're much more open to going with it. So for other artists, I would think about that, in your process and how you're talking to your clients, and Are you just listening to their idea and being like, yeah, okay? Or if you take that time and try to make a connection with the person, not only is the whole process much more enjoyable, but you're building trust with that client, and then they'll be more open to your suggestion as well.
It's a funny little thing that you can do on building trust, but I'm glad to hear you use those words.
Yeah.
And Jaime too, both of you guys, as soon as you sat down, I definitely felt comfortable. It's just through a computer screen. So that's great.
Yeah. Let's do it.
But we are going to be wrapping up now. Before we do so, could you guys, sign off, tell everybody where to find you and all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, my Instagram is TOC_tattoo. The shop, so we're 10,000 Foxes Queens, but the shop's Instagram is 10K Foxes_Queens. And you can pretty much find me here almost 7 days a week.
7 days.
7
geez.
days a week. Mine is Travi Morales. I'm so bad at spelling. Can you help me with that, please?
So Jaime's Instagram is Tradi_Morales. So it's TRADI_MORALES.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. And yeah, check him out. He's awesome person, awesome artist. And anybody that's going to be in New York, please come by and say hi to us. And hopefully you as well.
Excellent. Well, mucho gustos. And next time, if you guys have any other questions, we'd love to see you again. But until then, make sure to follow them. And next week, you guys can catch us on episode number 47 of the Tattoo